grade 5 friends, we're back at it. We've had 2 lessons so far on fractions, and I hope that you're enjoying my lessons, and I hope that you're just chilling out enjoying that, just like my friend over here. She wouldn't want to miss a lesson, so she's here listening attentively, however, in a relaxed position. So last day we were talking about fractions, and we were adding fractions where we were talking about fourths, and we'll talk about that again today. We decided that this is fourths because how many equal pieces has a whole been cut into? Well, 4 equal pieces, so that's fourths. So what we're talking about today is we're talking about if we were given that amount of celery, what we'd start doing is we'd start putting them together in groups of wholes. So they're fourths, so we put 4 of them together, and that's equal to 1. We put another 4 together, that would be 2 whole pieces. So if I put that on top, and then what's left over? Well, we just have 1 piece left over. So if we were writing this down, we would say we've got 2 wholes, and we'd write that as a big number 2 because there's 2 wholes, and then we have 1, so that's our numerator, and then the number that goes on the bottom is how many it takes to make a whole. So if we had all of them there, it would be 4. So we have only 1 out of the 4. We're missing those 3 pieces. When we write it like that with one large number and then a fraction, because really that's what we've just created, 2 and 1/4, that's what we call a mixed number. And it's mixed because it has a whole number and a fraction. So what we're going to do today is we're going to move on to, so we've got a mixed fraction, a whole number plus a fraction. What we're going to do is we're going to start adding mixed fractions. So I had this amount where we said that was 2 and 1/4. What happens if I took that and then I added this many, take that over there, and then I added this many more. So we'd say, okay, let's put it together. How many could there be? 4 takes a whole, but we only have 3. So if I were creating that, I would say this, which we just figured out was 2 and 1/4. And then we want to add that other amount plus. So if we just looked at this amount, we'd say, what do we have? Well, we have each of these are fourths, 1/4, 2/4, so 3/4. And in our last lesson, we learned that we can add fractions as long as the denominators are the same. So first of all, we start adding the whole numbers. How many whole numbers are there? Well, with this amount, there was 2 whole numbers. With this amount, don't see any, so there's none. So 2 plus nothing gives me 2. And then I can cover up the whole numbers and I can just add the fractions, and that's the last lesson. So we keep the denominator the same, we're still talking fourths, and that's a common problem where people say 4 plus 4 is 8. No, we're talking about fourths. These are fourths, so how many of these things do we have? Well, then we say 1 plus 3 ends up giving us 4/4. 4/4, you say? Wow, look at this. If I put this together, that is the same as 1 whole. Oh my goodness. So what do I end up having? I end up having 3 wholes. So let's try another example like that. Let's say I have 1 whole and 1/4. So 1 and 1/4 plus, let's say I'm going to add 2. So 2 what? I'm adding 2/4. What do? I start with the whole numbers. So there's 1 whole here, no holes here. So I have 1 whole, and then when I put the fractions together, I'm still talking about fourths. 1 plus 2 is 3. So how many do I have sitting in front of me? 1 whole and 3/4. I can do that with any sort of number. If I'm talking about, I'm not going to use celery because these are all cut into fourths, but let's say I'm talking about eighths. So it's cut into, I'd need 8 little pieces all together to create a whole. So here's one whole, and if I was trying to figure out how much I have here, I have one whole, and then I'm talking about eighths. How many eighths do I have? 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8. And let's say I wanted to add 2 more eighths to the mix. So plus 2/8. So what do I have in total? Start with the whole numbers. I have 1. Then I move. I'm talking about eighths. That doesn't change. And then I just have to do 4 plus 2. Okay? For the wholes, I only have one whole. So I'm going to pretend that these are wholes, which they are. They're whole celeries. So I have all of these. Instead of eighths, I'm just going to switch it up and let's talk about tenths. So what amount do I have right here? Well, I have how many wholes? 4 wholes. 4 whole pieces. And then how many tenths? Well, I've got 2 tenths. Plus, let's say I'm going to add this many more. So how many am I adding? 1, 2, 3, 4 tenths. So how many wholes do I have? 4 plus nothing, 4 wholes, and 6 tenths. Just going to do one more quick one. Let's say I have this amount plus this amount. One more little challenge here. So how much do I have here? Well, I have 4 wholes, 4 wholes and 2 tenths. And then what do I have here? 1 whole and 2 tenths. So how many wholes do I have if I'm going to put them all together? I end up with 4 plus 1 is 5. And then how many tenths do I have? Well, I keep it as a tenth. And then I've got 4 of them. So 5 and 4 tenths. That's our lesson for today. Have a great day.